Good afternoon. I'm going to introduce our next speakers. Chris Ratterman is the founder and CEO of Shady Rays, one of the nation's fastest growing lifestyle eyewear brands. Chris has recently been named 2023 EY Entrepreneur of the Year, East Central. He holds a BSBA in Marketing and Finance from Xavier University and an MBA from IUS, Indiana University Southeast. I'm introducing Dan Ratterman. He is not here yet. He is stuck in traffic, but he will be coming shortly. He is the Chief Operations Officer of Shady Rays. Prior to leading operations for Shady Rays, Dan, who is a Six Sigma Green Belt, held multiple positions at GE Appliances, including roles of business leader, process improvement engineer, material flow engineer, procurement leader, and manager of manufacturing operations. Today, Dan leads the Shady Rays supply chain operations, customer service, and human resources functions within the organization and plays a critical role on the product development team. Dan has also pioneered the company's environmental responsibility and sustainability initiatives. Please join me in welcoming Chris and Dan.
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? How many of you, just to get a little bit of a feel, have heard of Shady Rays, just from in the room? Most. Okay, good. Great. Yeah, we've had the luxury in recent time, especially with our store that we just opened in Oxmoor Center, of getting a good amount of local press. So we've been very fortunate to do so. A lot of what we'll share today, and my brother Dan is in the traffic that is backed up on 64, but I'll welcome him up here in about 5 or so minutes. But most of what we'll do is talk through the origin story of Shady Rays and give a little bit of a background of how Shady Rays came to be. I'll try to add in the tidbits related to how we formed the organization itself and how we started to get more sophisticated in relation to all of our KPIs and goals, and kind of became a real company over time, and that took a lot of years. So I'll jump into that, and there's a lot of back and forth in Dan's journey that's been complementary to that process as well. Would welcome any questions that anyone has along the way. Happy to try to answer as much as I possibly can, and so happy to do that. So just to give you a little bit of a background, Shady Rays was founded in 2012, late. I was working as a brand manager in Heaven Hill Brands, not too far away from here, and had a kind of a mid to junior level, and had the idea for sunglasses. So I was a kid that loved sunglasses, and I loved Oakleys in the 90s, and Michael Jordan was wearing them, and it was always this cool product. But as a kid, and then getting a little older, it was always kind of fascinating to me how expensive they were. And I could not afford them. My parents would literally not buy them for me. As a college student, I would not pay the money, but I loved them in general as a product. So I thought it could be a fun category to build a brand around, because it's a fun lifestyle product that you do when you're doing great, cool, exciting things outdoors. It's very visual, and so it had all of that kind of working for it. And at this time, I was really looking to build something from the ground up. So came up with the idea for sunglasses, but not necessarily the name Shady Rays. When you are looking at brand names and such, it is very hard to find a brand name that you can trademark, that the URL is available, that the Instagram is available. It is tremendously difficult. So I was thinking of a name and thinking of a name and thinking of a name. I couldn't think of anything. And I went to bed one night, as I was working my other job. I went to bed one night in my condo, and also not far from here. And I woke up the next morning, and I was like, I have it. I have the name. I just felt like I had it, but I couldn't remember it. So I make my coffee, and I make my eggs, and I'm like, I cannot think of it. But I felt like in my dreams, that's subconscious thought, right? But I felt like I had it. And so I keep thinking about it. I get in my car. I'm driving to work, just right over behind St. Matthew's Mall, the corporate office over there. I'm halfway to work, and out loud, I just all of a sudden go Shady Rays. Decided Shady Rays. But then I was like, there's no way that's available. There's no chance it's available. So what do you do first? You go to uspto.gov, you check the trademarks, you go to godaddy.com, you check the URL, right? And turns out that it was available in all these formats. Someone had tried to, interestingly, actually, the only business nationwide that had the name Shady Rays was a pawn shop in Western Kentucky. And that pawn shop still exists. And people send me something and they're like, hey, did you copy them? Or they copy you? I'm like, we copied them, actually, technically. So if you Google Shady Rays in 2011, you would get a pawn shop in Western Kentucky. So that is how the name came to be, and kind of what created the platform to just start to build a brand. For me, this was a side hustle. So I was doing my corporate job, of course, 9 to 5 and beyond 9 to 5 and traveling and things. But this was wake up at 5 a.m., work till 8, have breakfast, go to work, come home, work again, 6 to midnight, do it on the weekends, and just try to figure it out. Had a lot of passion and curiosity to try to figure it out. But we are completely bootstrapped. So I had $17,000 and I had a credit card, and $17,000 went really fast, and started using the credit card. And I, of course, a lot of entrepreneurs are raising venture fund and have investors along the way. It just wasn't my journey. It's just something I never even attempted to do. I just tried to build a website and create a logo, find a graphic designer, go to manufacturers in China, try to get some samples, and put a brand out there, and then just iterate in real time. So that's what happened. One of the first strategies to get Shady Rays off the ground was, one, we needed a logo, but I hired a graphic designer. It didn't look great. So I was on free Google fonts, just scanning through free Google fonts, chose one, put it up on a website. The first selection of product on the website, I literally went to the manufacturer because I didn't know anything about sunglasses or what was in style. So I said, give me 2 units of everything that you think has any possibility of selling well. So Dan's here, so you come on up and join, and he'll be integrated in the story sooner rather than later. But we're still early in the timeline here.
That's good. If anybody's familiar with lean methodology, and if you're familiar with the just-in-time delivery concepts, that is not always work like you want it to when there's terrible traffic. So my apologies, but glad to be here.
So the strategy was, let's get 2 of literally anything that could work and put it up on a website so we could show a full collection and a full brand, and put a brand out in the world, and then see what worked. And we could only afford so much product, right? And it was interesting. We were looking at these first products and thinking, like, these clear frames, and they look wild, and they're red mirror lenses and clear. Like, no one would ever buy clear sunglasses frames. I was just not familiar with it. First product that sells out. So that was just the early phase, and just like an example of just kind of following the breadcrumbs and following the results in the way that we could build a brand. And this was 2013, 2014, this kind of space. As we've evolved it, then we just layered on things that we needed along the way to scale little by little. One of the things that we're most known for over some things is that we shipped product out of the living room. Our father, Tom, and our mother, Jane, shipped everything out of the formal living room. And all of the products sat in containers from China right next to the fireplace and right next to the hearth and everything else. And so our dad had a card table and an old laptop and a label printer and a ShipStation account at that point, or stamps.com, essentially, really early days. And he would process the orders on a daily basis, which might be 1 or 9 or 8, and put them in garbage bags, and put the garbage bags in the back of his car and drive them to the post office. There was a small post office branch in the area, actually, a funny story, that was about to close up shop because they weren't getting a lot of business. And then my dad started going in there. Our dad started going in there with garbage bags of sunglasses and kept them in business for a bit. But it's truly a homegrown story from that perspective. And we have a lot of sophistication in inventory management and supply chain. Dan will talk about that a little bit. But we still have the notebooks of SKUs. We didn't even have SKU numbers, but we had the names. And it showed how much was upstairs and how much was downstairs of the inventory.
And I got to chime in on the inventory management system at the time. The way that it would be taken care of is, if there was a sale, you'd go to the notebook, you'd erase the number, write it, subtract 1 and write it, and then you're good. And then the order's at the door. So thankfully we use pens when we do it.
So we we were doing that, and I'm still working a full-time job. Had some kind of contractors on the country doing brand ambassador work and customer service and these kind of things. Dan was at the time at Dayton, but helping with the setup of these early fulfillment centers and the metrics of sorts. We got to a point where, quickly that the volume outpaces what could be done in the living room, and so we moved to a third-party provider in Lexington, Kentucky. Great company that we still actually print some things with today, and we were doing about 15 to 50 orders a day at that point. But all the while, this is kind of the early days of Facebook advertising, Instagram influencers. Prior to Snapchat, prior to TikTok, Google had kind of been matured, but a lot of these platforms like a Facebook weren't. So in that 2012 to 14 timeframe, a lot of direct-to-consumer brands came to be. It was kind of a window of opportunity. So you think about a Casper mattress, a lot of our competitors, Allbirds is a brand we follow, Chubby Short, Solo Stove, like there's Stance Socks, like there's a lot of these brands that are kind of this direct-to-consumer e-com space, and this was a good moment for brands that could do it right to come up in that time period. So we were testing everything. We never focused on Louisville being a Louisville brand. Everybody assumed we were from California. 100% of our competitors were in California. So, and we kind of did that by design. We got photographers on the West Coast. Our early employees, which were contractors, were in LA. Our product development team today is in San Diego. Creative is in San Francisco. And so we operate very hybrid remote, and we were just trying to build a brand and just scale. Probably helpful context potentially for this group is, I wasn't managing via a P&L or balance sheet at all. I was managing via daily sales revenue and an actual spend that we push out, and it was all just cash flowing the business and just putting everything back in. And I didn't pay myself for 5 years. And that's how we've just kind of built it along the way. We didn't take that moment to say, let's raise Series A, let's do this and scale exponentially. A lot of brands did and went really fast. We did not do that. We were just building it from the ground up and like making sure that our reviews were solid. If we got a bad Better Business Bureau review, like I'm calling the local office and being like, this person's off the rocker. You got to help us here. And just kind of pushing that through. I think I'll kick it to you for a moment. I come from a very marketing background, so and marketing vision and performance driven marketing, and not from the operations and supply chain space. When we were at this third party provider, we really had a decision to make. We were a big part of their business, a lot of growing pains, and we needed to evaluate how we scaled to the next level. And a lot of that was in our fulfillment center, our warehouse. So maybe you can talk a little about how you came into the business and what that looked like. Because we started in 2018, like really tackling these operations together and figuring out how we build an office for the first time, how we build this infrastructure. And prior to that, we're just pure remote and with a minimal amount of employees at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2018 was when I officially joined full time to, left. I was at GE Appliances through the supply chain development program, and I left GE and came on Shady Rays in 2018, which was a pivotal moment, leaving a 3PL and bringing fulfillment in-house, which like Chris kind of said, like it was rare for a growing e-commerce company to bring that in-house at this stage. It was usually people were outsourcing that to a 3PL. So first thing that we did was found a fulfillment center or space that we could use for it. And then we found one out in Simpsonville and started just figuring out what systems are we going to use, how we're going to build the team, what's the equipment that we're going to need, and just putting this stuff together kind of on the fly, just figuring it out each day on how we're going to get this stuff out the door. Some of the concepts we used there were similar to, honestly, like looking just like the living room back at the house, like what the workstation looked like. It was really just taking that and bumping it up a level. So when we started bringing people in, we found the right people that could come in, have the right attitude, and just do the simple things well. We found the systems that were going to be efficient, minimize waste, keep our costs low, keep our service high, and just kept building each day finding one thing to just do a little bit better. And that's exactly what we continue to do through today, is just find one thing we do well and keep doing more of it. Find something that we do poorly and do something differently, or cutting it completely, and just growing a lot. So, I mean, that first year was it was a very successful year, because it was like we were becoming like a real business. We actually had
2019.
Yeah, we had real resources from us spending all of our time in it, and started to hire in some other members of the team. But we also, we just had growing pains through that at the same time. Like, there was some things that we were kind of scrapping, or kind of being very scrappy to get through some of these things. Like, for example, when we first got this fulfillment center, I knew we needed big racking to hold the inventory. So it was like 12-foot high steel. So I worked with the vendor to purchase the steel, and he was like assuring me that I could assemble it myself in like 2 hours. And I was like, oh, that's great. This is awesome. Like, happy to do that. All I needed was a rubber mallet, is what he told me. So I show up at the warehouse that day, and we didn't really have hardly any money in the business, really, like we would want to use on something that's like assembling material. So when they show up, it was 13 pallets of steel, and it's just me with a rubber mallet, and I'm like, I've got 2 hours. He said I'd be fine. The delivery driver was laughing at me. So of course I call one of my best friends from college, and I'm like, hey, I need some serious help, because I got 13 pounds of steel, and I can't even lift this stuff. I was like, don't you have a forklift license? And he was like, I used to. And I'm like, that's good enough. You got to come on down here. I need you for like 2 straight weekends. And I paid him in Zaxby's. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner was just like chicken sandwiches. And for 4 straight days, or Saturday, Sunday, put all the stuff together. And started filling it with inventory and hiring in. He then left the picture, but got in kind of a real team of hourly employees, some of which are still now key leaders within our warehouse that have been here from back then, and started just finding a new process each day to work through that. And that kind of became 2019, where we probably kind of turned from, we were just kind of, we were both newly in the business. And 2019 was when we grew to maybe 15 employees, something like that, and kind of creating something more real, more scalable and sustainable to be able to consider support continued growth that we thankfully have seen since then and ongoing.
So as we sat there then, I mean, we really, again, kind of felt like a more structured, real company, but we built out what we call brand communications, which is customer service, built out that organization. They worked from the headquarters, built out the marketing team internally. They worked from that team, those headquarters. HR, of course, Dan had his function. And we've always been spread out across the U.S. and the world, actually, too, with our employees, and still are today. You may, if you are familiar with Shady Rays from a few years back, you may have seen a commercial. There's a commercial of me walking down a hallway and introducing the brand. That was filmed weeks after we moved into this space in 2019. We got in there, we got some logos on the wall, and we got the credibility of a real company, and we're just doing that and trying to scale the brand to new heights. One of those ways we did that is through cable television. So pushing beyond Facebook and Google and acquiring customers in new ways was always the name of the game. It's still the name of the game. And we found success on TV. We found success with different media partnerships. One of those is Barstool Sports that we've done really well with. We've tested things with Howard Stern, with Dave Ramsey, with whatever we can have a personality that has trust within their audience, and we can push it to a wide group. All of it's measurable acquisition media. So we're just investing heavily in the brand. As we moved on from there, of course, COVID hit quickly. So everybody goes home and works home due to COVID. And as I think many are well aware, e-commerce really experienced a boom during that period. So only a couple weeks really of the downturn, and people were looking to do things outside. People were looking to use the cash register that is in their hand when they're watching TV, and we experienced a big surge at that point as well. And Dan can talk to a little bit some of the operational challenges, but from a media and growth of brand, it was really a big moment for us. We were not in retail stores. We did not have our own stores. pure e-commerce through our website, not even Amazon. We don't sell on Amazon. So we keep that experience very tight, very clear. And we're able to double the company. So each of these years, we were doubling, tripling the company and growing pretty fast within the space. And for us, just competitively, like we're going after the customers that would otherwise buy Oakley and Ray-Ban. And as a halo effect, Maui Jim and Costa Del Mar. But we're the quality play. Like we want to be the quality player under $100. Like you should be able to buy Oakley quality for, this is not a sales pitch, but you should be able to buy Oakley quality for $50 or $80 or whatever it might be. And that's the name of the game for us. And so that's always been that North Star. And, but, you know, a lot of challenges during that time period, but continued surge. And it was nice. We never missed a day, right, within the fulfillment center during
Never
that
missed
whole
one day.
period. Never missed one day during that time period with all the growth we were experiencing, which was interesting. So maybe you could talk some of the operational environments.
Yeah. So, you know, supply chain and COVID kind of took over the news headlines during that time. So this was COVID in like 2020 as a business, as we're walking through the progression from kind of getting more and more structured each year. It came at an interesting time because in 2019, a little bit before COVID, we had done kind of a revamp of our supply chain. And we had done a lot more with scheduling out our inventory purchases and ordering further in advance. So with our inventory, we're always balancing like our in-stock percentage. We want to be in stock and have the right things there. But then on the other side of that, we don't want all of our cash tied up in inventory. And it's this constant balance of in-stock versus cash utilized. And it, you know, very thankfully and luckily, honestly, that 2019, we shifted it a little bit heavier towards let's purchase more with an attempt that we knew that would eat more cash, but we could ship more by ocean instead of by air, save on that freight cost, and still have the in-stock percentage that we need. So as soon as COVID hit in March 2020, obviously, you know, we were having a lot of really great conversations from the marketing side where Chris was like, the ads are hitting, this is great, like we can sell. Meanwhile, we had a lot of inventory on its way, and basically as much inventory as we could get in, we could move through. So it was a combination of, we had kind of buffered up the supply chain with a lot of inventory ready, and within a thinking we would ship it by ocean. It turned into basically, hey, we're going to ship this by air, had a higher freight cost, but it was significantly worth it because having that inventory, our customer acquisition cost became way lower, which significantly offset the air cost versus the ocean cost. And then simultaneously, I'm getting on the phone with every supplier saying, and basically make as much as you possibly can, get it on a plane and ship it in. And that's basically what kept us moving through 2020, which became an extremely fast growth year, about double the year before, and was a massive year for us partially because we were able to have a lot of inventory kind of in the pipe and bring it in and support us through that summer, especially as a lot of brands were struggling and, you know, we're entirely out of stock. I literally know one brand that literally ran out of stock completely. Like they've shut down the website. But we stayed in a pretty good spot. So, but yeah, I mean, it's, and through that, you know, we kind of overcorrected to be able to have supply when we needed it. And then now since then, we've kind of adjusted a little bit back the other way, or at least in the middle, to where we focus now a little bit more on having cash on hand and might kind of risk the in-stock percentage a little bit, but get strategic about which SKUs we're okay with in stock or out of stock to find that right balance. But it's always kind of a healthy debate, I would say, of, you know, operational people, typically, at least in our business, we want to have the stuff there. We want to have a lot of stuff there to sell it. And then at the same time, from more of a finance perspective, we shouldn't spend this much money on the inventory. So always working on that balance, and typically you're pretty good at dialing it in, but it also changes all the time too. There's no right answer all the time. We're working through it consistently.
So in 2021, you know, we were still experiencing early 2021, really the boom that was COVID at the time. Our industry, by the way, you know, with the Facebook algorithms of the world and being in a high spend environment, it's very volatile. So we always talk about, you know, big brands of the world, the Coca-Colas, and in our industry, the Luxotticas, being cruise ships, and they can rough waters, they can absorb a lot of it. And we're more of a speedboat in the ocean. So we've got to pivot quick and can pivot quick, but we're also going to feel the waves a lot more than others. It was spring 2021. It was right in that moment where the vaccines were out and where summer was hitting and people back to travel, that people no longer thought e-commerce is the only way to buy things in the world forever. to a return to normal, and so we experienced more of a challenging time at that moment. At the same time, we've grown every year and still have grown, which is that has fluctuated. So we though are always thinking about what will bring our brand to the next level. So we've evaluated third-party retail and traditional retail. We've evaluated going on Amazon, evaluate different things. But what we've decided to do is really lean into own stores. We've seen Warby Parker do this. We've seen other which who we do not consider a direct competitor. And so we were excited about bringing the online experience and owning the customer journey and being able to talk to our customers directly and creating our own store. So we did that in late 2021 in Lexington at Summit at Fritz Farm, if you're familiar with it. We were first actually looking in Louisville, like we just opened here, but real estate is what real estate is at any given point in time. We had a really great opportunity in Lexington to have a corner spot right next to the Apple store and open up a store. No experience in retail, but a lot of networking and strong real estate partners brought it to life, and we're still learning that business, but very, very different business. It's actually fascinating because the products that sell online are very different than the products that sell in store. And what resonates with someone was walking around shelving versus what they're clicking on their phone. It's just it's pretty interesting, and so that's been learning as well. But we create these stores. We launched that very exciting moment for the brand. Pretty surreal moment, honestly, for our team to come in and walk into a Shady Rays store after nearly a decade of working on laptops and looked at the website. So we had that moment. That store has been extremely successful for us, and that led us to continue to lean into that and build more stores around the country. From there, we really took a lap around the country before we ended up circling back here. And our next store was, I'll stick on retail for just a moment, was in Denver, Colorado, in a mall there. We then ended up going out to Scottsdale for our largest store, which is in Kierland Commons out there, if you're familiar. I'm sure you're not probably familiar, but it's similar to an outdoor power center. And then circle back to Mall of America in Minneapolis. That's been open for a few months. And then the biggest exciting moment was here in Kentucky, and had quite the crowd to celebrate that opening. So we have 5 total retail stores now supporting our e-com business, and that's been a really great way to move omni-channel and build the foundation of the company. We have, from a business operations standpoint, we're always looking at how we build the organization most productively as well. And there were 2 things we identified at that point in time, which number 1 was in product development, product innovation. And so we hired a director of product. We hired a product team that now leads all of our product development in relation with our marketing team. But marketing and us and the product team leading it has created some of these innovations and own innovations that we do. So we consider ourselves problem solvers in sunglasses. So trying to solve the problem, high price, solve the problem and lost or broken. And then one of our other recent biggest hits is in our tangle-free aviator, if you're familiar with this. So we patented a nose piece that will allow aviators to go up in your hair and not tangle. We had heard feedback for lots of years on Facebook comments that aviators are great, but they tangle in my hair. And so we developed and patented a nose piece for that, and that has been a massive, massive hit for us in recent time. So that's been exciting, and we're always looking for those own innovations that we can do with magnetic interchangeable sunglasses and different things like that. At this point in the business too, or just a little bit after this point, we actually hired our first CFO at that moment. We did not have a CFO at that point or internal accounting team. But we do now. Thank you. And our leadership team generally is dispersed across the United States, and we come together for certain meetings. But that's when our focus as an operation started to really pull in KPIs, focusing around gross margin, focusing around EBITDA, focusing around operating within the P&L and discount strategy and overall corporate scorecards and such. So that's been a sophistication that we've leaned into heavily in the last, call it 2-3 years. And continue to as we build our executive team and direct leadership teams. So, another going to kick it to you. You can take any direction you want, but I think our new HQ is another big moment for the brand that's on the horizon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, new HQ is a good one. As we're looking at like where we are now, we've done all this growing to get to this point, and then looking at what's next, well, one of the most physical changes that'll happen is we'll move into a new headquarters, which is 1 mile from our current headquarters. Also in Simpsonville, it's directly across from the outlet malls. And it'll be a fulfillment center 3 times the size of what we have right now. It'll be 75,000 square feet. And then it'll have a full set of offices and kind of cafeteria room. So really exciting way. It's been about 2 years in the works putting that together, but it'll be exciting. But as we're doing this, we're always like for fulfillment specifically, tracking at the end of the day our cost per order and making sure that our labor stays in line with what we want it to be, and then balancing that with our service on how fast we get the product to the customer, how fast we get it fulfilled, which are very much in relation to each other, but balancing that cost and with the speed right there. But I'll circle back on something you were talking about on retail, how that's been really a really key thing that we've done with retail in terms of like learning about products and learning about our customers. Because for so much of the business, we've continued to grow online. We see a certain set of data that we can see through our website, through metrics, through reports in Excel of what products people are ordering, and we've learned a ton about our customer that way. But then as soon as we open up retail stores, it's like a whole different type of learning from seeing people in these stores. I know earlier this year, I flew out to our Denver store and with the plan to just work the store for a few days to see what I can, what are the customers looking for? What are the sales pitches that works? How do we convert these customers, and what styles do they like? So, I'm flying out there for like, 4-hour flight or whatever it is, and I'm thinking about I've never like really been on a sales floor before, other than the mall kiosk we attempted in 2015. So I'm thinking about all the sales pitches that I was going to say as people come in, and I'm standing there in the store and like see this first customer coming in, and this like poor soul is walking in, and I've got like all these talking points I'm ready to just like unleash, and I'm like, hi, how can I help you? And they're like, well, I'm just looking. I'm like, oh my gosh, but I had so much to tell you. But it was this constant stream of like really watching people when they were coming in and seeing which styles they're gravitated towards, and once they put them on, understanding if they don't go with that one, understanding why. Often you can tell whether it's too big or too small, or it doesn't feel just right, or sits too low on my face. Like a lot of these fit features that we could hear and see people talk about, that is extremely crucial information that was really hard to capture online. So, I think when we look at retail, like really important as a strategic part of the business and sales and profit generating, but also extremely important to get the feedback that we're getting now that we weren't able to get before to then make our e-commerce business better. So all that information, we're pushing that to our product development team to use that and to keep developing the product to make sure everybody, whether you order online or in the store, gets a better experience. But it's really, really awesome to be able to capture that within the store and see these customers in real life. And it is kind of crazy. It's like before we opened retail, we knew that we're sending these orders all over the country. Of course, we're shipping them out of the fulfillment center every day. We see it in the data. But like when we go out to, for example, the Scottsdale opening and pull up to the store an hour before it opens, and there's a line of like 75 people waiting to get in. There's people sitting in lawn chairs to get into the opening. And we're talking to them, and people are like, so, kind of like, what brings you? I mean, obviously we know what brought them there, but like, thanks for being here. And they're like, oh, I've been a diehard Shady Rays fan for 4 years, for 5 years. Like, I got 20 pairs. So excited you all are opening a store here. And it's like cool to be able to talk to these really key customers that we have that are like diehard customers that have never met anybody on the team, but they've been brought in and have come back to us multiple times, getting to actually have a face-to-face connection with that person, understand really like what do they do in their free time? Do they have a family? Do they have a dog? Like learning that person, because there's a lot more of those people that exist out there. So it's I feel like it's grown the business and how we think about our customer and our products overall in its entirety a ton, way more than what maybe the actual scope of retail is. It's helped drive the entire business.
So to where we are today, we ship well over 1 million orders a year out of our facility. The majority of that's in the U.S., but we have key international markets that do really well for us. We are a lot of our competitors are private companies and not releasing actual sales data, right? So it keeps us directionally. We believe we're the 3rd largest mid-price sunglasses brand in the U.S. today, and obviously excited what we do every day. There's a lot of aspects around our culture and our charitable give back programs that we're really excited about. I'll talk a little bit about that, and if we do have time for a little Q&A, if anybody wants to learn anything more, happy to field that. But something we've been focused on since from the beginning is around giving back and doing good with our products and doing it in genuine, real ways. And so historically, we've done that through 10 Meals Fight Hunger, through Feeding America with every order. We've since expanded that to a variety of different organizations. So what I think is interesting and about what we do is we also get our team involved in actually helping the people that we're supporting. One of those organizations is called Rock Solid Foundation, tremendous organization. They build play sets for pediatric oncology patients. We just built one for a young man named Jackson that received his in the parking lot of our store in Oxmoor just recently. We've also done adventure trips that Dan has been on for patients with MS and cancer that can have an opportunity of a lifetime. So that's a big part of our brand identity too, and our reason for being. So it's been powerful for the brand. You look like you may have questions.
Are you ready for questions?
Hit us.
Okay. So, how have you financed your business?
Yeah. So it's all been cash flow, but we have used bank line of credits. For the seasonality of our inventory is such that we have to order 9 months ahead of time, and 50% of our business is made of July. But we have done it through this cash flow and line of credits also. And the other thing that's just interesting is we have done a lot with what we can put on credit card and cashback points related to the Capital One Spark. That's 2% cash back. Like we've done that. We put a lot of our digital media on that. So there's a tremendous amount of spend that helps us in the short term be able to manage cash. But primarily it's been just self-funded from cash flow.
Which KPIs do you monitor, and what is on your dashboard?
Yeah, so a lot. I'll kind of get to I'll talk to some of the key ones. We are, of course, looking at our gross margin goals by month and by quarter, looking at our EBITDA goals by month and by quarter. Some of the operating KPIs that are particularly important for our business, one of which is we're looking very closely at acquisition revenue versus retention revenue and those growth metrics. Customer acquisition cost is king for us. So pure customer acquisition costs, all media spend over period divided by new customers, and our average order value, both for new and repeat. So growing those independently is something that we look at in a way that's very much dissected. I mean, there's a variety of other things, our average discount rate, certain operational metrics, but these are some of the things that drive the business heavily.
Any custom design glasses or just existing offerings?
The majority of what we sell are custom designed, especially today. Like everything we launch next year will be designed from the ground up. But we do sell classic frames with our spin on it and our unique design language. And we sell things that are completely custom and patented, like our React and magnetic interchangeable sunglasses. So it's a range. I mean, we want to sell timeless styles that people already know and love in our flavor, but we will almost always typically do a new mold, new design ourselves.
Have you all used a lot of influencers? I'm sure maybe you did at the beginning, but maybe not as much now.
That's accurate. That's accurate. Influencers space has evolved in an interesting way over time. You have a lot of micro influencers and people that have maybe 10,000, 15,000 followers, and there's a wide range of expectation of price. Yeah. And so you used to be able to get a long way with a couple pairs of sunglasses. We got Warren Sapp of the NFL for 2 pairs of sunglasses. You know, you can hit on these third string quarterback for that, right? But as it's developed, everybody has agents. It's become more of a price. For us, it's not a customer acquisition channel at scale, but it is key to our brand building.
Yeah, have you thought about sending some glasses to the Colorado State head coach?
He happens to be wearing one of our key competitors, which is Blender's eyewear. Interestingly,
I'm
we
talking about Dion. I'm talking about the other guy.
oh Colorado State. No, we haven't. Honestly, we're just really focused on the high end brands. But I think collaborations are something that are big in the marketing space, and so that's been really successful for them. And there's a lot of others that have been transformational for companies. So there's different flavors, of course, of influencers, but it's as relevant as ever as a market hacker, certainly. Yep.
How many employees do you have today?
What's our number, right at 50?
On payroll, we're like 90. In summertime, when we're ramped up for seasonality, if you temps and contractors and things, we're about 140.
Do you still source just from China?
Talked about.
Yeah, primarily. There are some kind of unique aspects that we do within the States, and we also are kind of in production with some other countries, Philippines, Vietnam, for example. So there are some other options out there. Most of the world's sunglasses are made in like a certain community in China, but there is some that's in other areas and more developing others. Like one of our suppliers in China is currently building a factory in the Philippines, for example. So we're testing out transitioning some of those over to the Philippines.
The diversification would be key where you're getting your supply from.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's, I guess, the theory behind it.
Yeah.
Say something happens in China politically or something, you can get your product from other.
Yeah, some of our key styles will have the capability of multiple different factories doing it anyway, even if they are both in China. But just if there's something extreme, there's a fire at the factory or something, or assembly line is down for a few weeks, having some type of backup to be able to keep that and make the customer never feel it. We'd like to have that redundancy when it makes sense to.
Oh, that's a question.
I think I've read online where you all have the policy where if you lose it or they break them, how does that all work?
I should have talked about that. That's our number one selling point. So I'll do a little story on this, actually. In marketing, right? Product positioning, you got to find the true differentiation in the market. And so I was out there on Twitter searching negative terms, curse words related to sunglasses in the early days. And hundreds of people a day were just extremely upset about losing sunglasses. And the more expensive they are, the more mad you are when you drop them in the lake. So that's how the whole solving the problem of lost or broken sunglasses came about. And so we have always, still do, always will, replace if lost or broken. So literally day one, you drop them, you have no proof of them at all, packaging's gone, product's gone. You can go to our website, and if you verify your order information and verify the email and the style that you had, then for a processing fee, we'll get you back into that same pair. It's 2 strikes, you're out. 3 strikes, you're out. You can do it a couple per each pair, but we are the best consumer protection program that I have personally found in consumer products. We try to make it super easy. So there's like strategy around making people register and create the hoops that lower redemption. We try to make it as easy as possible and as cheap as we possibly can. I mean, we're doing hundreds of these a day, and the summer we're doing thousands of these a day. So we have to make the economics work in the business, but we are, we have a strong policy around lost or broken. And from a craftsmanship perspective, if it's ever a defect, 10 years, 15 years, it's entirely freebie for life, unlimited. We just back up everything from that perspective. But if it's your fault, we still help as much as we possibly can with the lost or broken, and that's been a big part of the brand too. Yes.
Biggest business challenge currently?
Yeah. Maybe I can answer. You can take a shot from your perspective. It is certainly a focus to break through and scale to the next level and being a really important national brand. Building unaided awareness is a strategy for us. It's a challenge. It's a big challenge, especially within a profitable P&L. So we are very focused on that. We're very focused on the fact that we have a high spend level in terms of our media that has to be effective day in and day out and month out. And so we've got to continue to come with programs and products that resonate with people, creative exhausts online quickly. And so that is an always on initiative to be able to drive those things. And so we have to do that well. We have to continue to focus and ever get comfortable in that space. And so that's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say for me, like making sure that the decisions we're making today are what's going to support us tomorrow. So like, for example, we're evaluating like our customer service platform that we use. And we have a few different options that probably would all be good improvements on what we use today. But we are doing an absorbent amount of diligence in deciding this platform because I want to be, any would work for the rest of this year, but we're really, what I'm really trying to convey to the system, to the team is, what is this going to look like in 5 years? Does this platform still work? And we're finding that actually one of them would definitely not support where we're going to be in 5 years. Another one could support us for the next 15 years. So looking at kind of where we're currently at, since we've been growing so fast, looking at the systems that we use, the teams that we have, the kind of how we're operating today, and making sure that we don't get caught off guard when we continue to grow next year and we add more stores and get more complex. If we can reduce the amount of surprises that come up of, oh, this doesn't work anymore, usually we could have seen that a year prior or so. So now it's about looking forward 1, 2, 3, 5 years and seeing what do we need to change now before it really smacks us in the face.
How difficult is it to avoid like patent infringement with your competitors?
So we use very diligent legal review, of course, to evaluate that full space. It is reasonable. It is reasonable. I mean, anytime we're going to create a new frame style or new design, we're going to make sure it's unique and it's outside of the range of design copyrights and things that are in market. I would say we've not had meaningful issues there, and so that's been okay. I mean, we look for the opportunities to patent functionality, of course, utility. It is, from a trademark perspective, it's cluttered too. Terms and collections, and we're filing a lot. Other brands are filing a lot. So we're in a competitive market, certainly, in a consumer-facing market. But we've been able to find the way to have our niche there, certainly.
Have you come across anybody yet trying to reproduce your glass?
Not at scale, but we have had a handful of companies or startups that try to basically take what we do well and blend it with another top competitor and put that in market. So there have been people that have launched websites that are very close to ours, and they've come and gone. But we've seen so not as much on a product level, but on a brand level, yes, because at a very surface level, getting a website live and ordering some product is fairly easy to do. But the rubber meets the road when you need to really acquire a customer through paid channels and promotional channels and really invest. But we certainly see that thing pop up now. Anything else? All right. Well, we have an exciting discount offer for everybody who would like to purchase a pair of Shady Rays for $0 today. So we brought everybody a pair so you can try it out. You want to take a handful? Take it the other way. Yeah. Give them a try if you haven't already. Yeah, of course. Of course.
You're welcome.
Enjoy.
You are welcome.
Enjoy. Of course. Of course. Hello.
Not with Special Olympics Kentucky, no.
Maybe pass those down.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So that's me, but
Great.
I would love to see how you guys can, especially if we're like not giving back and everything. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Go. Enjoy.
You are welcome. Ooh, that was the last pair.
No,
there's more.
Here you go. Love. Yeah, of course. You got that side?
Need a few more.
Okay, good. You have extra. That's good. Keep coming.
Yeah.
You had to get a picture of That was Steve.
Oh, Dwight loves us. Dwight's a good friend.
No
Dwight's a
problem.
good friend of the
No
brand.
problem.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, he's like our best customer and advocate. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Thank you all.